Here we are back in Nosgoth's past, and Raziel has just discovered some rather interesting ruins beneath the pillars of Nosgoth. As it turns out, the Elder God is here as well, and continued a conversation with him that he had in the future, which seems to imply that this gigantic squid-like thing has a certain omniscience about him, so that whether you're in the past or the future, it doesn't really make a difference to him. It's just more like, imagine like he exists in time, obviously, but exists out of time, or some weird shit like that. Whoa! Do not want to bother fighting these guys. Just gonna run past them. Now, of course, the Elder God isn't the only force at work here, although the Elder God does have individuals like Mobius at its command. It is not the only, the Elder God is not the only individual at work here. There's also Cain, who has his own plans. So the Elder God just really wants Raziel to go and kill Cain and be done with it. Raziel seems to be breaking free of the control that either one seems to have on him. But now we know that Mobius is one of the disciples of the Elder God, and the Elder God hates vampires because of their immortality. An immortal creature is one that will never die based on its own nature. It won't age and then eventually die. And that's why the Elder God hates it, because souls do not return to the souls that are vampires do not often enough return to the Wheel of Fate to continue its action, its activities.
I surfaced into a very different landscape. The daylight barely penetrated the dense canopy of this forest. Here I discovered an ancient ruin, unmistakably one of Mobius's time-streaming chambers, but long ago sealed and abandoned to the encroaching swamp. I didn't currently possess the means to break this seal, but I thought in time that I might.
So this goes, what I was referring to earlier, goes a good way to explaining the crusade against the vampires that Mobius seemed to have. Mobius hated vampires, and shit, I'm getting beaten here. Hold on. There we go, now you're dead. Mobius went out of his way back in Blood Omen to eliminate the vampires from the world, and you could, at the time, just sort of assume that the reason why he hated vampires so much was because of what hold on, I'm not getting this thing aiming right, was because of what Vorador did. I'm having trouble aiming here. And shit, I'll just run up there and kill him. And you'd think it was something to do with what Vorador did, because he killed the Circle member, majority of the Circle members at the time. And Mobius obviously survived, but you'd think like maybe that had something to do with it, but that's not really the case. Mobius wanted to kill all the vampires because of his relationship to the Elder God, and it wasn't sort of motivated by any personal factors. This also shows that the Elder God wanting to kill off Cain and all of his people had nothing to do with Cain taking over the world. And his hatred for vampires extended from well before the point in which Cain rose to power. Open the door. Oh, that was weird.
So, my lurking observer was exposed. The creature vanished when he realized he was discovered, but I caught a glimpse of him, and his features were distinctive enough. This was the vampire Vorador, the monstrous assassin depicted in the stronghold. Strange that a creature brazen enough to assault the Circle single-handedly would avoid confronting me. Very well. If Vorador would not come to me, I would go to him. But first, I needed to find some means of reaching that terrace.
Vorador, the legendary vampire that back in the opening cinematic in Blood Omen assaulted the Circle of the Nine and killed 6 of them. You gotta die, bro! Now, Vorador is one of the more enjoyable characters in the series, as a hedonistic individual who seems to have come to very much enjoy the vampire curse that he had. He was also an extremely powerful vampire. Back when Cain in Blood Omen was unable to defeat Malik, the last Seraphan, who at this point in history should still be alive given that we traveled in the past, he procured Vorador's help in order to defeat Malik. I imagine this has something to do with the fact that Vorador at this point is a very old vampire. In fact, I'm not going to go too into detail about that, but he's one of the oldest vampires. And what am I doing here? As previously discussed in the first Soul Reaver, vampires age, they mutate to a certain degree, but they also gain new vampire abilities. So Vorador has had a long time in order to obtain new strengths and stuff. There's one pointer in which I'm hoping I'm not running backwards. That would suck. This stupid swamp is really irritating because you get bogged down in swampiness. I think I'm heading in the wrong direction. I haven't encountered anything to kill. Oh, there we go. I think I am still going. Yep. I just didn't hit that checkpoint earlier. Okay, we're going to need to get into there, but we can't do that yet. We need to go find some ability to get us in there. Now, Vorador is hiding in there, so Raziel wants to confront him. For whatever reason, he probably just wants to kill him. I mean, at this point, Raziel has a pretty strong hatred of vampires, although I would say not quite strong enough to have him attempt to kill Cain the last time he ran into him. Damn it, this is really clunky. There we go. Someone to kill! How come you're not dead? You got hit by this freaking Cloud Strife-sized sword and over again, and you're not dead. I'd say the enemies in this game are less durable than those in the first Soul Reaver, only because they're humans and not vampires and stuff. But they still take an annoyingly long time to kill. Of course, you don't need to use finishing moves to take them down like you did the vampires. Save point. Now you're gonna die, fool. Let me try this again.
Here it comes.
Ah, never mind. I'm having trouble doing that attack because I had to bind the key for the looking around and the telekinetic abilities to the R3 key on this Xbox 360 controller that I'm using to control this game. Now, since this is the PC version of the game, and the PC version was released back in 2001, it didn't benefit from the Games for Windows specification that a 360 controller be used. There might be dialogue.
There appeared to be a passage here, leading northward into the mountains. The opening, however, was obstructed and too high for me to reach. Perhaps later I would find the means to bypass these obstacles.
Thanks for that little foreshadowing tip there, Raziel. But anyway, since this game predated the standardization of the 360 controller, there are some incompatibilities between this and the game itself. Now, a lot of that came down to the use of the L2 and R2 triggers, which unfortunately they were made in order to be pressure sensitive. So you push them harder and harder, they're more effective, the more powerful, like whatever it is you're doing is supposed to be doing. For the most part, it's only really ever been useful in racing games. But the way Windows reads these triggers is not as actual buttons, but as like the analog triggers. And this game didn't support the ability to interpret something like an analog trigger as a button press. So as a result, the L2 and R2 triggers are non-functional in this game. Now, I know there are ways I could have gotten around that. In fact, I thought about using a PlayStation 2 controller, using a third-party controller driver to do it, and it probably would have been a little bit more effective. But these third-party drivers can be really screwy. So I decided not to do that. Die, you stupid freaks. Take her head off. There we go. Alright, we're getting there.
My lurking friend was nowhere to be seen, but I found these ruins even more intriguing. I recognized these arcane symbols from the chamber beneath the pillars, and realized that this shrine, too, was sealed to all but the bearer of the Reaver.
All but the bearer of the Reaver. Checkpoint. And, well, look at that. I guess that's where we came from. But there we go. We've reached the next section of the game, and I'm going to use this chance to end the episode, because, you know, that's what I do. Oh, I don't know what he's talking about. Vorador not being around here. These birds are... Ha! I threw my sword. These birds are the things that Vorador is using to spy on you, I think. So, die! You know, when they burst into blue mist when you hit them. It's kind of a hint something's up with them. Anyway, end of episode. See ya.